Imagine a king so powerful that he outlived almost everyone who knew him. A man who ruled for 66 years, fathered over 100 children, and plastered his name on so many monuments that you literally cannot visit Egypt today without seeing his face. He was the great ancestor, the possibly biblical adversary of Moses, and the man who mastered the art of propaganda 3,000 years before the internet. This is the story of Ramesses II, the pharaoh who didn't just rule history, he wrote it himself. Ramesses took the throne around 1279 BC in his early 20s. He inherited a powerful Egypt, but he wanted more. He wanted glory. His defining moment came just 5 years into his reign at the Battle of Kadesh. Ramesses marched 20,000 soldiers north to face the Hittite Empire, Egypt's arch-rival. It was almost a disaster. Ramesses was fed bad intel and walked straight into a trap. His division was cut off. By all accounts, he should have died there. But, according to his account, he single-handedly charged into the enemy lines, praying to the god Amun, and drove the Hittites into the river. While the battle was technically a stalemate, Ramesses went home and told a different story. He carved his victory onto the walls of almost every temple in Egypt. He turned a draw into a legendary triumph through sheer force of will and excellent marketing. But Ramesses wasn't just a brute with an ego. He was smart. Years after Kadesh, he realized that constant war was draining the treasury. So he did something revolutionary. In 1258 BC, he signed the world's first known peace treaty with the Hittites. They agreed to a non-aggression pact and a mutual defense alliance. It was so advanced that a copy of it hangs in the United Nations building today. This treaty brought an era of stability that allowed Egypt to flourish like never before. With peace secured, Ramesses turned his attention to his favorite hobby, building things, big things. He moved the capital city to the Nile Delta and named it Ramesses, literally House of Ramesses. Subtle, right? But his masterpiece was Abu's simbel, carved directly into a rock mountainside in Nubia. 4 66-foot statues of, you guessed it, Ramesses guard the entrance. It was a message to anyone entering Egypt from the south: turn back or face the God King. He was so obsessed with his legacy that he even had his stonemasons carve his name deeper than usual, so future kings couldn't scrape it off and steal his monuments. In fact, if he found an old statue he liked, he'd just carve his name over the previous guy's. Ramesses wasn't just building history, he was hijacking it. Ramesses the Great died in 1213 BC around the age of 90. He had outlived many of his own sons. When he died, the Egyptians must have felt like the world was ending. Most people had never known a time when Ramesses wasn't pharaoh. He left behind an empire at its absolute peak, a skyline dominated by his face, and a legacy so heavy that 9 subsequent pharaohs took his name just to try and capture a fraction of his glory. He was the King of Kings. And looking at his temples 3,000 years later, it's hard to argue with him. If you enjoyed this trip to ancient Egypt, hit that subscribe button for more epic, bite-sized history. Which legendary figure should we cover next? Let me know in the comments below.